let's talk about shadow people, what they are, what they may or may not be, and should you be afraid of them. My name is John Moore, and I am a shamanic practitioner and teacher. I practice and teach shamanism in the state of Maine in the US, and I'm going to talk to you about shadow people. I have a great deal of experience with what we might consider paranormal phenomena. That's kind of a weird word to me because when you experience things very, very frequently, they become less paranormal and more normal. But let me explain. I want to explain what shadow people are. But first, I'll say the thing that prompted me to do this video and to talk about this is I had somebody contact me and say that they have a relative who is experiencing sleep paralysis, and during these episodes of sleep paralysis, and I don't know, maybe sometimes when not, they're seeing shadow people in their home. And first of all, incredibly scary, right? Sleep paralysis alone can be very frightening, but then add on top of that the perception of beings unknown in your home and not knowing what they're up to or what their intentions are or what they're capable of. Yeah, absolutely, completely frightening. And I'm glad she reached out to me. Of course, I responded with some things that this relative could do, and with an offer of help if the problem doesn't, if it is a problem and if it does not happen to clear up. So shadow people, on the surface, the phenomena, the things that people are experiencing, they're basically humanoid shaped shadows that are usually in 3D space. So it's not like a shadow that's cast against an object. It is a figure, usually humanoid, why they're called shadow people. Sometimes they're tall, sometimes they're small. They come in all different sizes and shapes, but they're vaguely humanoid. And they look like a shadow. They're dark. They are either absorbing or blocking light. Sometimes they are translucent. You can see light, a little bit of light coming through them, or objects behind them, that sort of thing. So what are they? Are these spirits? Are they, whatever? So people have been encountering these beings forever, and in all cultures and under lots of different circumstances, in brand new spaces and spaces that have been around forever, spaces that are known to be haunted. So this is my take as a shamanic practitioner, somebody who has worked with many spirits. When people encounter these beings, and sometimes they're caught on camera, so it's not 100% just a perceptual thing, they are in fact perceiving spirits of different sorts. Spirits is a very broad and complicated term. It might be a deceased person, a stuck spirit, a quote-unquote ghost. It might also be a nature spirit, or it might be, well, all spirits are basically what we would consider interdimensional beings, and that includes us. We are interdimensional beings. We have spiritual components to us that exist on different planes of existence. That's why we can't see our chakras and our aura with normal vision, but with certain shifts and meditations and things, we can really experience these things. So we're perceiving spirits moving through our space. So for that to happen, these spirits have to be very close in vibration to what we call ordinary reality, our 3D space, the space that we live in normally and that we perceive them. So that is one way that they come through into our awareness, and we see them, and we normally see them, a lot of times we see them out of peripheral vision. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that your peripheral vision, the eye cells that are in your periphery, are much more sensitive to light, to low light levels, I should say, than your direct vision. Okay. The other reason is that your direct vision has more cells that detect color than the outside cells. So different parts of your retina, even though everything looks like we're looking at one picture, if you go a little bit outside your foveal vision, it's very blurry. and you start to lose some color definition, but very sensitive to movement and very sensitive to low light. Good reason for that. We were cavemen at one point in time, and when a saber-toothed tiger was sneaking up beside us, we had to be really sensitive to movement and subtle changes in light and that sort of thing to survive. So we evolved to have these different types of eye cells, and I've confirmed this with an eye doctor. So I'm not just making stuff up. So there's very often we'll see these out of our peripheral vision, then we'll turn to look, and they might be gone. They might disappear because the difference in light could be so slight. So the other thing that's happening is that we are tuning ourselves. We are going into a state of mind where we are much more sensitive to this. Now, this happens to me pretty frequently when I'm doing trance work, when I'm working in Journey. It can happen under the influence of certain chemicals, certainly hallucinogens, certainly THC, sometimes under alcohol, because it relaxes you, right? It puts you into a different brain state. I'm not saying go get drunk and look for ghosts. Not what I'm suggesting at all. I'm just saying sometimes people perceive these things with a boost from our friend chemicals. So, should we be afraid of shadow people? In general, no. Generally speaking, it's not something to be afraid of. Spirits, it's like, spirits are like people. They have less an effect on our physical world than physical people do. But they are scary because we don't know. We don't know what their motivations are. We don't know why they're there. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they are. And then, of course, there are, everybody's scared of the jinn and demons and all of this. There's a whole lot of folklore around spirits are scary. When the reality is that, most of them are not. There are people who are scary, but most people are not scary serial killers. So unless you are having other types of issues with paranormal activity around you, the shadow people probably are not going to want to or be able to bother you. They may be interacting with you because they are a stuck spirit and they can tell that you can perceive them, and they may be looking for help or something along those lines, or just to interact. Okay, if I experience a spirit or I see a ghost, I try to interact with it. I want to find out about it. I want to ask it questions, that sort of thing. Or I see somebody walking across my lawn, I'll go outside and say, hey, what's going on? However, they might not even be aware of you. We often think, because we're very human-centric, we think we're very important to all of these spirits out there. And some of them don't really want anything to do with us or aren't even aware that we're there. Much like we're not aware of most of the spirits that are around us most of the time. And the reason for that is we're just not attuned to those realities most of the time. There are some people who are very naturally gifted who are more in tune, but they're still not perceiving all spirits on all planes simultaneously. That would just be overwhelming all of the time. It would be completely overwhelming all of the time. And one of the things that I actually have a theory about schizophrenia and other diseases that involve psychosis is that oftentimes these people are perceiving other planes of existence, some of the things that they're experiencing, but it's not that they're experiencing it with reality. Their brains are not able to filter or make sense out of all of this sensory input that's coming in. And so very frequently people will feel threatened, or somebody's after them, or any of these things, where that might not actually, that's the delusional thinking that goes around that, but the hallucinations might actually have some roots in spiritual reality. So, things are coming out of my TV, or things are doing this, or things are doing that. They're perceiving non-physical information, and their brains, which have, there are some physical differences with their brain, they're unable to filter that, and their brain is still going to try to interpret it and doesn't have a really good context for that. So ultimately, if you are experiencing shadow people in your space, I understand how the natural reaction could be to be frightened, but approach them. There are a couple ways you can approach them. One is you can approach with curiosity. Another way is that you can approach and sort of say, look, this is my space. You can assert authority over your space. This is my space. I need to be at peace during this time while I'm sleeping, or whatever. You only really need to clear a space or get rid of spirits or whatever if it's problematic, or if somehow you determine that these are stuck and suffering spirits. So if this is a deceased human, they're not supposed to be there. Humans are not supposed to be haunting places. It's kind of a miserable existence if you think about it. And so at that point, you want to call in somebody who is an experienced psychopomp, which is a Greek word that means guide of souls. A psychopomp is somebody who helps souls cross over to the other side. This is work that pretty much anybody who has significant amount of shamanic training and experience probably has learned how to psychopomp, how to be a psychopomp, how to do psychopomp work. Okay, it's something I do when I do space clearing very frequently. When people are having really negative, quote unquote, negative activity or harmful activity or that sort of thing, and I'll sometimes encounter deceased human spirits there that I will help to go where they belong, and so that they are no longer stuck and suffering. But the difference is with the way that I treat them, and that maybe they're treated in some other fashion, is I treat them as clients, because they're not in a physical body anymore, but that doesn't mean they're incapable of suffering. And so we try to help them. We try to help them cross over to where they belong, which has the added benefit of they're no longer messing things up in the physical space they've been kind of attached to. So I hope that makes things clear that shadow people, I don't think, in my experience, are a specific type of spiritual being. It's that this is frequently how we perceive spiritual beings in our space when they have become close to 3D reality and vibration, so much so that they're affecting the light in a room, for example. And I do believe that sometimes it's just perceptual. Sometimes somebody's really sensitive and they're seeing these things. And sometimes I believe that they're actually affecting the physical light in a room. If you've ever been in a space where there is a lot of spiritual activity manifesting physically, you can note often a temperature, like a significant temperature change. I've been in places where, a temperature in a space for no physical reason dropped 10 degrees, like really instantly, right before something happened. And so these beings are frequently drawing on the energy around them, and that could be light, it could be electricity. I've had electrical items go bonkers, and it can certainly be the ambient temperature in the air. And so it's not that they're necessarily saying, I'm going to suck all the heat out of the air. It's just they're like, we're breathing, they're absorbing energy. We're absorbing the oxygen from the air, and they're absorbing light or heat or whatever from the environment that they're in. So I hope that explanation is helpful. Let me know down below if you have any questions about this. If it's something you've encountered before, I'd like to hear about it. And with that, I will leave you, and I will talk to you real soon.